I made something similar some few weeks ago, and I was asked of the measurements, and I thought I should just post this. So these are the measurements we'll be using, and the previous one is the material, obviously. So you start off by marking your starting point, which will also serve as the shoulder line. Yeah, so from there, from the shoulder line, you will take your shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, and then your shoulder to hip measurements. So you continue by taking your across back or your shoulder to shoulder measurement, which is your shoulder to shoulder divided by 2. This is 16, so divided by 2 will give us 8. So we marked 8 on the same starting point over there, which is also our shoulder line. So from there we mark our armhole measurement, and then the armhole is also the same result you get from the shoulder to shoulder divided by 2, which is the 8. You can also do it by dividing your bust into 4, your bust circumference into 4. Let's say if the bust is 10, if the bust circumference is 40, you divide it by 4, you get 10. So you mark 10 as your armhole. But in this case, we are using the shoulder to shoulder measurements as our armhole. So we went ahead by marking out our bust, hip, and then the waist. From getting the mark for our armhole, we have to go ahead by taking our neckline, and we are going for the basic neckline measurement, which is 3 to 3 on the front, and then the back would be 3 to 1.5, depending on how you want it though, depending on how wide or small you want it. But this is a free wear without zipper allowance, so we just decided to make it a bit free enough to make the wearing and removal very free. From inputting our neck measurement, we'll go ahead by marking out our shoulder slope, which is taking 1 inch and then sloping it or giving it that curve effect to get the slopey effect on the shoulder side. Here we are marking our shoulder slope. The shoulder slope comes here just like that. Then we need to get the midpoint of our shoulder or of our armhole. We need to get the midpoint of our armhole measurements, and then from there we get the curve of our armhole. The curve of our armhole. This work is not easy. So right after that, we go ahead by inputting our bust measurements. Our bust circumference divided by 4. The results will be marked there. So I added allowance to it. I added my sewing allowance and then the other allowance to it. Yeah. So we went ahead again by marking our waist measurement. The waist circumference divided by 4, which also gave us our results, and then I added my allowance to it. We did the same to the hip measurement, the hip circumference too as well, and then we went ahead by marking out or drawing out the lines to get our straight marks from the bust to the waist and also to the hip measurements. My camera couldn't cover this side. I didn't know it wasn't covering this side, but here it's understandable enough, right? So from here we need to cut them out. Now this is the part. So from the waistline heading to the hip line, you come down by 4 to 5 inches. From the waistline, you come down by 4 to 5 inches and then get a straight line which marks to the other point of the front side. Kindly note that this side is how you want it to be. So this is me coming down by 4 inches from the waistline, but you can also decide to take it off from the waistline. Instead of coming down, you just go off by marking it from the waistline down to that point in front. And others can also choose to mark it from the hip line, depending on how you want it. Yes, so I decided to come down by 4 inches in order to get this effect, just as I did before in the previous video. So this is me separating the both front and back in order to cut the front neckline, because the previous one we did was for both front and the back, and we need to get the front neckline out too as well. We'll be using satin for the gathers or the pleated part of this dress, which is the lower part of the dress, to give it that effect. Yes, we'll be using this satin for it, and then we'll have to separate it into two in order to attach it separately on the back and the front side of the dresses. And this is where I was trying to do that, but my camera couldn't capture this side too as well, but I'll take it again from there. And this video is long enough, so I would post the sewing process and also the finished look in the next video. Thank you.